Peace, greetings. What's going on? What's happening? This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. Today's topic is going to be about go-go music. So June is Black Music Month, and a lot of people don't know about Black Music Month. So because it's not often talked about. So, anyways, Black Music Month, which was a holiday that was brought into celebration by was signed into celebration by Jimmy Carter, who was the president at that time in the late 70s, around 1978. So it's to commemorate African Americans' music and its culture. All right. So to give commemoration and give honor to the genres that we all grew up in, from folk music all the way on down to hip hop today. And so I wanted to take the time out to give honor and thanks and to recognize the sound that we have today. So we're going to Washington, D.C. Why are we going to Washington, D.C., the nation capital? Well, because that's where go-go music originated out of. And I'm going to go into detail about go-go music as far as the history, the origin. I have some information that I have available that's going to guide me through this. And from there, you guys can check out the information for yourself if you want to learn more about it. But yeah, go-go music was very popular back in the 80s and the 90s. It rose to prominent in Washington, D.C. However, there is some crisis going on in D.C. as far as trying to make it become extinct, if you will. Yeah, there's residents over there that want to like shut down the whole go-go scene. But for those African Americans, they grew up on it. They don't want to shut it down. They're like, no, that's a part of our culture. That's what made Washington, D.C. what it is. Without go-go music, Washington, D.C. would not be nothing. So it's not really popular all over, you know what I mean? It's more so popular in that area because that's where it originated. But anybody that knows about the song called Doing the Butt, well, maybe I know about the song, but some people may not heard of the song. This song came out in the early 90s, around 91. I was probably about 2 years old at that time period when that song came out. So the chorus go off, it starts off like this: doing the butt. Yay, yay, oh, yay, 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 oh, yay, yay, yay. It was one of the best songs ever. One of the best songs of the group who did the song. They came from the Washington, D.C. area. And yeah, so that song just rose to prominence. It gave exposure to what go-go music is and the sound of it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and show some sources. All right, so the first source I am going to use, right? If you can see, this is called The Beat, Go-Go Music from Washington, D.C. And the author is Kip Larnell and Charles C. Stepson Jr. All right. So this one was written in 2009. Now let's go ahead and skip down to where it says the roots and emergence of go-go. Okay. All right, so the roots and emergence of go-go. Trouble Funk wasn't the first go-go band. Chuck Brown and the Soul Searchers were, but they were the foremost ambassadors of Washington, D.C. Great contribution to popular music. Over a polyrhythmic bass, using timbales and other Latin percussion and funky bass, go-go used chanted vocals and little splashes of horns, keyboards, chunky rhythm or scotching led guitar. It is an extraordinary, supple, intensible form. You can play anything from an MOR ballad to a car commercial over a go-go beat and make it danceable. Wilson and Alroy's record reviews. All right, so right here it says basic ingredients. If you go back far enough, go-go's fundamental musical roots can ultimately be traced back to West Africa. First and most, first and most profoundly, it is the beat that categorized and distinguished go-go's early distinctive rhythmatic drive, the essential element that keeps the troopers on the dance floor. The complex uh, syncopated beat underpinning go-go represents a trait brought to Western culture in general and to America in particular by way of interlocking percussion and cymbals of the savannah. The sounds of drums, spikes, nearly all of the music heard in the village and small towns that flick the hot, often dry and dusty savannas of present day Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Senegal. In West Africa, drums of different shapes and pitches form the core of most musical experiences, and their complex interlocking polyrhythms are essential. The percussion instruments, so well known to fans of go-go, differently pitched drums, timbales, and various cymbals, have their counterparts in West Central African rattles, gongs, and xylophones in addition to drums. The nonstop percussive core of traditional African music encourages movement and the interaction between the drummers and the dancers. In many African communities, it is difficult to separate these components because they are intertwined. They cannot be unraveled without changing the very nature of the event. But it is the way that these instruments work together that is critical and establish the exceptional level of cooperation necessary to produce the beat. In go-go, the pitch percussion instruments work together in syncopation instead of producing a single meter. The drummers work a filling of two double meter against three triple meter to create a polymeter. This might sound complicated, but anyone familiar with the 20th century American music form like rock, hip hop, jazz, or gospel instantly recognize polyrhythms such as those produced by the two drummers in the Grateful Dead, the complex drumming of Tony Williams, Tony Williams back in Miles Davis in the mid 1960s, or Jabbo Starks and Clyde Stubblefield's titanic contribution to the carefully crafted, meticulously drilled but also funky sound that James Brown has demanded of his backup band, the JBs, over the years. In the 1990s, the go-go beat has been best driven by Junkyard's Heavy One, EU's Juju, and the Soul Searchers' Ricky Wellman. Go-go exceptional beat is characterized by a syncopated dotted rhythm that consists of a series of quarter and eight notes. Quarter, eight note, yeah, quarter, eight, quarter, space held briefly, quarter, eighth, quarter. That sounds like a boom, ba 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 boom, ba 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 boom, which is underscored most dramatically by the bass drum and snare drum and the hi hat. This basic rhythmatic unit is ornamented by the other percussion instruments, especially the conga drums, the timbale, and handheld cowbells. Is quite reminiscent of a combination of the cleve beat heard so often in African Latin music and the Afro Caribbean mambo rhythm, both of which infiltrated this country by the way of the Caribbean and South America. A variant of this beat is central to calipos or calypso and soca, which is Trinidad, and samba, which is Brazil. All right, so I'm gonna just stop right here real quick. All right, peace, 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 peace to the chat. So, as you know, the origin of go-go music, just like all the other black genres, can trace back its origin to West Africa, West Central Africa. Okay, I have did a video in the past about blues and how the blues is closely related to the sound of the Gunagwa people. So the Gunagwa music has a very similar sound like the blues. So you can tell where the origin comes from. All right. So if you listen to the go-go music, you can hear the gospel element, you can hear some jazz, you can hear that funk, and you'll hear the African sound because of the percussion. So, and then also the call and response, that's part of the African tradition as well. So that's a lot of that has an African origin to it. All our genre, the black genre music, all that has been created by the African Americans goes back to Central West Africa. Even Latin music, if you listen to Latin music, it's basically African jazz. If you guys ever heard of African jazz, it sounds just like Latin music. But let me go ahead and continue. Okay. And then it says this background for the go-go beat became part of American popular music by the late 1940s by the way of Afro-Cuban jazz when Dizzy Gillespie and other musicians added percussionists like Machito to their ensemble. It was reinforced in the 1950s and 1960 through the popularity of salsa and by way of the New York bass bands led by Tito Puente, Ray Barreto, and Mungo Santa Maria. In DC, Carl Hawkins, Julio Miranda, and Stacey Edwards are some of the percussionists whose work contribute to the multi-layering of rhythms that is so critical to go-go. These artists use of exotic instruments like Ghanaian hand drums and cowbells, which came from Africa via South America, helped to create a music that is very African in its construction. All right, it says go-go's beat is usually performed at a comfortable tempo somewhere between 80 and 94 beats per minute. This tempo sets up a groove similar to that of many funk bands, but it is slower than many disco's tune. Disco was often marketed using the term BPM, which stands for beats per minute, a standards like the Village People's Macho Man and the Hustle by the Van McCord carefully and clearly announced the speed of the tempo on the record sleeves. This underscores the primacy of the beat to dance music in general. Once you get it in your gut, internalize it, so to speak, you'll always feel and immediately recognize it. Go-Go's beats provides it with its distinctive sound, its musical trademark, align it with funk, but at the same time setting it apart. Another of the most bedrock elements of go-go, the talking and gesturing between the audience and the musician, is also integral to West African pop and traditional music. This form of communication, antiphony, more commonly known as call and response, informs nearly all forms of African American music. Call and response simply refer to the mostly verbal interaction between a song leader and his/her group. This leader sings, chants, and speaks, and the groups react by echoing or responding to the leader in a time-honored fashion that is well understood by all of its participants. Call and response, a format that has been heard for decades in the Black church, especially Baptist and Pentecostal, work songs, and even in the interplay between a down home blues singer and his guitar, heightens the intense emotional communication between the musician and the audience. When go-go singers inquire, "Is Alabama Avenue in the house?" the brothers and sisters know what to say. Hell yeah. And also it says third, the griots of Africa, whose lineage can be traced back to at least the 17th century, have a kindred spirit in the talkers who front contemporary go-go bands. Griots serve a variety of functions in Africa's complex musical culture. Some are keepers of oral history, while yet others perform while workers are in the fields. In northern Nigeria, a small band of griots is employed specifically to praise local butchers. In a more generic way, griots are often viewed as a vox pop, a voice for the people. Is a role most widely associated in the United States today with earlier Black musician as desperate as Charlie Patton on his heartfelt "High Water Everywhere" about the destructive Mississippi River floods of 1927, and native Washington Marvin Gaye, who contemplative 1970 songs about Black urban life include "What's Going On," but embraced by contemporary rappers and go-go bands as well. This role is part of African American music conservative nature, which invites the audience to interact with the band. The vocalist led the way to the music, to the party. This is the way we rock in the Southeast. But the talkers, for example, Bugs, a junkyard band, provide the commentary about Black life in the District of Columbia and events with more national significance. Perhaps most importantly, talkers also instill the audience with a sense of pride and a renewed appreciation of being African American and living in our nation capital. All right, so just stop right there. And if you guys want to read more into this, you can check out the content. You can check out the book. Is called The Beat Go-Go Music from Washington, D.C. by Kip Larnell and Charles C. Stevenson Jr. You can check it out on Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Nobles. You can go to your local library and see if they have it. But yeah, check it. If not, you can check it out at Barnes and Nobles, or you can check it out at Amazon. Just look up The Beat Go-Go Music from Washington, D.C. All right. And you can download it on your Kindle. You can purchase the book, whatever. All right. So anyways, let's go into the history about the go-go. How it really got started. So anyways, as you can see, go-go is a popular music subgenre associated with the funk, originating in the Washington, D.C. area during the mid-60s and to the late 70s, which remains popular in the Washington metropolitan area as a uniquely regional musical style. It became the official music of the city in 2020. Some early bands credited with having developed the style are the Young Senators, funk band Black Heat, and singer-guitarist Chuck Brown. Go-go is primarily a dance hall music with an emphasis on live audience call and response. In the 1990s and 2000, more and more of a hip-hop influence became apparent in go-go, but there is also a retro movement going back to its original style of marathon session, incorporating popular contemporary R&B songs. All right, so I'm skipping some of this. So, although Chuck Brown is known as the godfather of go-go, go-go is a musical movement that cannot be traced back to one single person, as there were so many bands that flourished during the beginning of this era that they collectively created the sound that is recognized as go-go of today. Artists such as Black Heat, Experience, Unlimited, Vernon Burch, Sir Joe Quarterman, and the Free Soul, The Moments, Ray Goodman and Brown, True Reflection, The Unifists, Peaches and Herbs, Terry Huff and Special Delivery, At One, The Dynamic Superiors, and etc. So, Cordes said the term go-go, as it applied to a music venue, originated in France in the early 1960s at the Whiskey Yak Go-Go nightclub, named after the French title for the American comedy Whiskey Galore, Whiskey Galore. The club also featured go-go dancer. In January 1964, capitalizing on the emerging popularity of go-go dancer, the name was licensed to a Los Angeles club, the Whiskey A Go-Go, and from there the term go-go spread nationwide. The Cafe Au Go-Go in NYC was also in business during that time, gained notoriety when Lenny Bruce was arrested there in April of 1964. By 1965, go-go was a recognized word for a music club, as evidenced by the TV show Hollywood A Go-Go from March 1965 to 1966, or the song title of that year hits Going to a Go-Go by Smokey Robinson and The Miracles, which was released on November 1965. At a go-go club, dancers could expect to hear the latest top 40 hits, as many as 20 at a time, performed by local bands and DJs. All right, so in Washington, D.C., the Young Senators, later known as the Emperors of Go-Go, were formed in 1965. There soon began a fierce competition with Chuck Brown and Black Heat on the local club circuit. They later became known for their hit jingle. So Chuck Brown was a fisher, and this is a picture of Chuck Brown right here. Chuck Brown was a fisher on Washington and Maryland music scene with his band, the Latinos, as far back as 1966. By the mid-1970s, he had changed the group name to the Soul Searcher and developed a laid-back, rhythm-heavy style of funk, performed with one song blending in the next in order to keep people on the dance floor. The beat was based on Grover Washington's Jr. song, Mr. Magic, though Brown has said in an interview that he and Washington had adapted the beat from a gospel music beat found in black churches. It says Washington, D.C. Funk's early national chart action came when Black Heat, the first DC go-go band to be signed by a major record label, released their Billboard Top 100 hit, No Time to Burn, from their second album on Atlantic Records in 1974. They then toured with such national acts as Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Parliament Funkadelic, Ohio Players, the Commodores, and others. In 1976, James Funk, a young DJ who spawned at clubs in between Soul Searchers, said was inspired and encouraged by Brown himself to start a band called Rare Essence, originally the Young Dynamos, that played the same kind of music. All right, so let's go down here. Experience Unlimited, who originally formed in 1974, was a band more influenced by rock. Their name a nod to the Jimi Hendrix Experience that started out in the 1970s. After witnessing Rare Essence in the late 1970s, they modified their sound to incorporate the go-go beat. Curtis Blow's Party Time subsequently put them on the map to be later tracked down by Grace Jones and to take the king of go-go production, Max Kidd, to an international music adventure with Island Records to make EU's greatest hit, The Butt, for the soundtrack of the 1988 film School Days, written, directed, and produced by Spike Lee. All right. So skipping down. All right, so let's go into the 1990s and 2000s. As time passed, more and more of a hip hop influence crept into go-go. Early MC like DC Scorpio gave way to DJ Kool, whose 1996 indie release "Let Me Clear My Throat." Anyways, based on a sample from DJ Mark, the 45 Kings, the 900 number was picked up by American Recordings and in 1997 became Go-Go's last certifiable hit single, number 4 on the Billboard's rap single chart, 21 on the R&B hip hop single charts, and number 30 on the Hot 100. As the hip hop content in go-go increased, the complexity of musical arrangements decreased. Where bands once featured horn section and multiple guitarists in addition to a phalanx of percussionists, many current go-go bands have stripped down to just keyboards and percussion. Another trend is to have a dedicated percussionist with plastic wood blocks performing much of what used to be handled by the junior congas. There was, however, a retro movement in the 2000s reverting to go-go original style of marathon session, covering popular R&B songs such as Northeast Groover. Many of these being used the term grown and sexy to indicate a focus on appealing to audience over 25. In 2006 and again in 2007, there was a grown and sexy category at the WKYS 93.9 Go-Go Award ceremony held at Dar Constitution Hall, which the Familiar Faces won in 2006. And the group grew up won in 2007. Some go-go artists have been able to transition to other areas of entertainment. Awan Big G Glover, a founding member of the Backyard Band, became an actor playing Slim Charles on HBO's The Wire. DC band Mambo Sauce also had hits with Miracles and Welcome to DC, which both cracked the Billboard charts. Welcome to DC also became the official intro for all of the Washington Wizards and Mystics home games, and the video for the song was in rotation on VH1 Soul and BTJ and received airplay on MTV Jams, MTV2, MTVU, and BET. Kevin Kato Hammond, former lead guitarist for Little Benny and the Masters and former rapper for the band Proper Utensils, started in the online magazine Take Me Out to the Go-Go in 1996. In addition to the magazine being a source of information on go-go shows, it serves as a community forum in which go-go fans routinely submit their own articles on issues unique to the genres. Take Me Out to the Go-Go has expanded to include a radio show on gogoradio.com, as well as several YouTube channels, one of the most notable being Exclusive Go-Go. All right. Additionally, musicians from other genres of music have incorporated elements of go-go aesthetic into their composition and stage acts. Jazz/rock musician Mike Dillon leads a band called Go-Go Jungle, often playing long, non-stop set that incorporate go-go beats and raps interspersed with other subgenres of funk, jazz, and rock. So in 2010, so in the late 2000s and early 2010, it became harder for go-go bands and local venues to hold concerts as law enforcement in both Washington, D.C. and neighboring Prince George County in Maryland viewed the concerts and band as inciters of violence. New go-go music is still being produced but remain local to the area, depending on the live shows to share its full effects. However, most of the venues have closed, some with some residents putting it down to gentrification, which has forced many African American residents out of previously low-income neighborhoods. One area, Shaw, which was 11% white in the 1970s and was 62% white by 2015. Some new residents, however, had embraced go-go, and locals are optimistic that it will continue to thrive. After one new resident's complaint about noise in the street, there were protests which grew into a block party with go-go performance. In the early 2020s, right, in February of 2020, go-go was named the official music of Washington, D.C. in a unanimous vote by the district's city council following the hashtag Don't Mute DC movement. Go-go historians and local activists have advocated for city investment in go-go tourism as a result of financial challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you guys want to find out more information, you can go down here at the bottom of the page where it says references. And then also you can go down to further reading. It says Cultural Life in a Chocolate City, a review of Natalie Hobson's Go-Go Live. So that's the further reading, which is another extension of the reference. And right here you see the references. Okay. All right, so also I have some more information, some more books. All right, so this book here is called Your Mama's Dysfunctional, or Dysfunctional, Fighting the Culture Wars in Urban America by Robin D.G. Kelley, which was the publication came out in 1997. All right, so now this book goes into the urban problems in the community, but also it talks about the culture. In this book, it mentions about the go-go music, and yeah, it mentioned about the go-go music and the cultures and the lifestyles of African Americans. So yeah, it goes into more of the cultural wars in urban neighborhoods, like the whole side of town issue, where you from, this, that, the other, and things like that. Yeah. Also, I have another book that people can check out more into, and maybe I will go back to this book later. This book right here is called Rhythms of Afro-Atlantic World, Ritual and Remembrance. Okay, so remember all these black genres that we know of, were all the black music, from folk music, blues, R&B, hip hop, funk, jazz. It all traced back to the origin of West African. It all goes back to West Africa and its sound and its unique origin. So this is what the book is really getting into: the rhythms of the Afro-Atlantic world, rituals and remembrance. Okay. As you can see, the introduction, part 1, religion, dance, contemporary music, and contribution. Religion, dance, contemporary music. So yeah, it's like 3 parts. But again, I will go back to this book later, but I just wanted to show it just to like tie into this topic. All right. But anyways, that's all that I have for today. That's it. That's the information about go-go music. So check you guys later. I hope everybody have a good one. I hope everybody be safe during this pandemic. If you guys want to check out my content, make sure you do so, and make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share this channel, share the videos. And with that being said, I will reconnect with you all later. All right, this is your girl Tiffany, and I'm out. Peace.